last week we talked about being able to share incidents or taking information in ArcGIS Online and being able to create an incident out of that and sharing that back to all the other connected applications like WebUSD. And the significance of that is that if you're sitting there and you're looking at your map and you have a layer of information, say it's shelters or refineries or something like that, and you find out that in fact something of significance has happened at one of those specific locations. So the earthquake happens and a refinery is damaged, and all of a sudden there's a chemical spill there. Well, you want to differentiate that. You want to alert people that in this full layer full of data, one of these points is actually there's something significant that's happening there, and you want to alert people that that's going on so that they can go to that specific location. So you can take that specific one of those shelters out of that whole layer, and you can turn it into an incident, and then everybody else is alerted that there's something special going on there and to take a look at it. And instead of having to log in separately to a WebUSD or put it in separately in a map or something like that, you can use the XchangeCore connector and you can do that automatically, and then you don't have to worry about making sure that everybody else sees it. Everybody else that has an application that's connected will automatically be notified of that. And if they have additional information about that specific incident, you'll see that information too. So that's what we covered last week. This week we're going to expand on that, and we're going to look at being able to do that with an entire layer full of data or a select group of items on a specific layer. So without further ado, then I'm going to let Jim go ahead and take over from here.
Thank you, Ann. And what we're going to do is exactly as Ann said, so I'm not going to repeat that. The use case is you have all your great GIS data, but now think of it as layers. And I want to draw the distinction between what Ann just said a little bit finer, in that when you say, I know there is a problem here, I am going to create it as an incident, you're effectively spinning up everybody who's connected to XchangeCore to go out and, in lowercase and with little quotes around it, respond. Now that response might very well be somebody walking out and looking at it and taking a bunch of pictures of it because it's a crack in the ground or a crack on the side of the building. This week, we're going to look at things that you don't quite know enough about to say, I know this is a problem. It's more like saying, this is a potential problem, or this is a risk. As in, I know there was an earthquake here, and there are 4 schools within a mile of the epicenter, or within the most intense area of shaking as predicted on a USGS shake map. So to save you the trouble of sorting through all the schools in, pick a county, any county, sorting through all the schools and saying, gee, I wonder whether I should go look at those schools, you can begin to work from an assessment that's been made by somebody who's looking at a shake map or looking at an epicenter and saying, okay, here's some pretty high probability schools because they're really close. And then maybe here's the next set of schools and the next set of schools. So that as a GIS analyst, you're able to provide information with more than just casting the net widely saying schools, but rather you're saying, all right, I'm making an assessment and I'm giving you some additional knowledge that says these particular schools ought to be looked at. Maybe first, but ought to be looked at. So that's the idea of taking a piece of a GIS layer. Not 3,000 schools, but 3 schools. For the exercise, anywhere in the country you can do this. You can pull down a feature layer that you've got that covers someplace around the exercise area and be able to share that information out. Maybe information that nobody has ever seen before. You're the one who's concerned about beehives. And you can say, I need somebody to go out and look at all these beehives because we might lose X crop if we lose all these bees. So don't know what it is, but there are tons of people with extraordinary levels of information that can play into the operations of the exercise and a real emergency. So what?
If I could clarify one point too, and again, the reason that this is important is in a major earthquake where resources are going to be scarce. You know, you see a whole, all the schools in LA County, and we know that there's been major shaking in LA County, but trying to figure out which ones to go to with limited resources and limited access. If we have information specifically where you can say, I know there's nothing going on, we've already got reports coming in that there's nothing going on at these schools, these schools are shelters and they're open, so we know that nobody needs to go look at them. Then we can, everybody knows not to go to those locations. They can go to the other, the ones that have been identified. So this is all about trying to help, the state response and recovery effort by helping direct people most efficiently.
Good. Thank you for putting into that context. So what we're going to learn today is how to do what Ann just said, how to identify feature layers of interest on your ArcGIS online maps, how to prepare the output so that it can be exchanged through XchangeCore, and then how to visualize that output when possible, because you're putting out GIS information. So WebEOC isn't going to do a job on it. So it's a when possible attribute for this kind of information. So with that said, let me come over here and let's get started. Let's pull this guy over here and get rid of him. And let's get started. You'll recall that we have two components. We have ArcGIS Online, a whole bunch of web maps. Every web map has a identifier at the end of it. It says web map equals that. And on the web map, we build our presentation. If I want to have dams over there, I'm going to put the dams there. And I get a bunch of dams that are sitting up here. If I click on those, I'm going to have little pop-up stuff about the dams. If I want to add airports, I'm going to throw airports on there. And there are going to be a bunch of airports all over that area. Well, maybe there would be if I hit the right one. One of these is airports. Anyhow, the whole idea is that you construct the view that you want to share in your web map. And then you say, okay, now that's really a nice view that I have there. I want to be able to share it out with lots and lots of people. So, again, the distinction between picking one of these and saying, I know this is an incident that needs to be responded to, and picking several of them and saying, gosh, you guys ought to look at this because I, as a GIS analyst, can give you some information that this is more interesting than some other place. So now we switched over. Here is my ArcGIS Online, pure and simple. Here's my ArcGIS Online XchangeCore connector. Associated with that XchangeCore connector is that exact same web map ID name that you had over there, plus the URL that calls up the XchangeCore connector for use. And what I want to do is clean this up a little bit. I'm going to get rid of the XchangeCore instance over there. And let's put some dams back there and some water treatment plants, hazardous waste sites, and stores. And let's say that we've got, as a matter of fact, let's move up here a little bit because it helps to clear things out if we're in an area that's a little less populated with all those hazardous waste sites. Lucky you up here in this northern part of California. And let's start to take a look at some of this. The first thing I can do with the XchangeCore connector is something that I don't really care about. Oops, I got to come in here. And that's going to be... So I need to select my XchangeCore that I'm connecting to because I can go to any one that I want. Click on Fetch. It's going to come up here. It's going to ask me to authenticate against that. Ann has provided XchangeCore credentials to probably 25 organizations so far. I'm now one of them. And what I get is that same list that we turned off a minute ago of all the XchangeCore incidents related to this. I've got all these up here now, and I actually am going to turn them back on so I can find an incident that's going to be useful to me. One of these, and let's see whether we got. All right, we got one right here, and people help me remember that. That's called bad disturbance, and a couple of other things, landslide and McDonald's. All right, so what I'm going to do is take you through a couple of different ways to get multiple pieces of information out of your ArcGIS Online and share it out with XchangeCore. First thing I'm going to do is go find that, where was that? Bad disturbance, bad disturbance. Somebody show me a bad disturbance here. There we go. I'm going to use this as my incident. And what I have now is this thing. Happens to be a bad disturbance, but let's think of it as an earthquake epicenter, or were this a polygon sitting over here, I would be able to see the polygon area. And what I've got is my opportunity now to share information with you. So let's share a layer of information. What I have here are all the layers that I've clicked and are available as part of this. And what I want to do is take, what did we pick over here? We had dams. I'm going to take my dams there, and I'm going to select my dams. When that comes up there, it's now telling me that I've got a selected my entire layer of dams. And if I come in here and look in this listing across the bottom, I'm going to find that that's XchangeCore, and that's my training. You'll note that that happens to be the name of the map. That's the first thing that it provides. And if I scribble through over here, I'm going to end up showing that we've got somewhere in here. It's going to, there's my web map and my name and summary, and it's the Clearinghouse Training and description and whatever information was associated with that layer. And I'm now going to say that this is my, what did I pick there? Dams. Just put that in there, and I'm going to submit that. That's now off in XchangeCore, stored in the Open Geospatial Consortium map context document that allows other people to consume that information, pick it up. Let me clear that off, just so that we're starting fresh each time. Got a bad disturbance. Now I'm going to do it a slightly different way, because what I did was just tell everybody, hey, I got a whole bunch of dams here. Not very useful. But if I come in here, I'm going to look and I'm going to see I've got a few things. First of all, what I want to do is select some features, and we're going to make them dams. And in that feature select, I can do a couple of different things. I can pick one, I can pick multiple, and let's say I'm just going to grab this. And dams, were those dams or were those wastewater treatment plants? Sorry, dams are different colors. I'm not. All right. There, we got a dam over there. All right. So now I'm going to go over and pick a dam that happens to be this far away. And you see I got my little yellow square with a red outline on it. That dam is now selected because it was proximate to this location. It is the bad disturbance one. And if I come over here and click on features, what I'm going to have is the opportunity to either send it out as a JSON file, which is readily readable by other ArcGIS Onlines, or not a KMZ. Now, this is one thing I want to focus on here, because how you get this information out is going to depend not on anything but how ArcGIS provides it. All right? ArcGIS Online composes its data only into an ArcGIS Online format, JSON. It does not translate into the OGC standard for KML, KMZ out of ArcGIS Online. a map service, an ArcGIS map service, coming out of an ArcGIS GeoServer, does in fact compose the data into a KML KMZ. So if you want to share this outside of the ArcGIS community, you need to think through the process of what capabilities does my ArcGIS data have, and who do I want to share it with. So we've seen that the ArcGIS connector is smart enough to say, hey, got nothing there, can't help you. So I'm going to only be able to share that as a JSON file. I'm going to call this dams for the bad disturbance. URBANCE incident. And you'll note down here again, I've got all the data that's associated with that particular layer. And how much it is not going to be very much, but it should tell us that it was created. It's not giving us very much of interest at all about that, the dam, so you needed to put that information in there. So submit. So in that, we saw two things in that application. One, the ArcGIS data type is going to determine how I can put the information out. I want to just stick it out as a JSON that's readable by other ArcGISs, then I can take any feature layer and do that. If I want to extend it out past ArcGIS, I need to have it as a KMZ format to be able to put it out there. Now, there are a couple of projects going on. By the time the exercise rolls around, we've got a little project where Spot On Response is going to be able to read that JSON, so it'll be the first of the external applications that can read things outside of ArcGIS Online, but you need to know your target audience, because once it leaves here, there's not much more manipulation that you're going to be able to do to it. So we now created that dams. And what I'm going to do, let's close that up there. Going to do my clear all just so that I'm sure I got a nice clear picture there. Got a bad disturbance. Now this time I'm going to come in and going to did my bad disturbance. And as a result, that is this one that we're looking at there. Going to do my feature select process this time. And these are wastewater treatment plants. Is that what these guys are? Actually, let me click on that. Yes, wastewater treatment plant. So I'm going to pick a wastewater treatment plant. Actually, don't want to do that. I'm going to do these USA hazardous waste sites because I know those are coming off of a map server. So we've got the site here. We've got a bunch of little dots there. And I'm going to say, you know what? I really want to see them 3 miles anywhere around my incident. So in this case, I've got a choice of going out. It automatically draws the line. I have a whole bunch of items there. And again, if I knew one of these was a bad, I'd turn it into an incident. If I'm saying, gee, I suspect you guys ought to be looking at this, this is where a layer is effective. I come off here, do my feature select. No, did that already. Do my features. And here now, JSON, KMZ. JSON, KMZ. If I take a look at this link here, what you're going to see for those of you who know ArcGIS Online, you got that hazardous waste sites. This one you're seeing is coming out of a map server. And what you're going to see coming in here, let's move a little bit further along here, and you're going to start to get a feature that says KMZ there. Where to take the time to do that, you're going to get a JSON at the end. And the data associated with that is going to be represented by, again, all the stuff that's sitting inside of ArcGIS Online to be able to provide that information. So I've created this, and let me go in here and let's call these hazardous waste sites. Or whatever they were. So we're going to stick that out there. That is now part of the XchangeCore body of information. So you see what we're doing there. We're going in, we're saying, I know something. Let's clear all this stuff off of here so we can see it again. I know something that matters. I am interested in sharing it with others. It's because of this bad disturbance incident that's there. I'm going to select my features, and we'll call these wastewater treatment plants. And under my buffer this time, I'm going to do a polygon. And I'm going to say I've got a polygon that exists out here. And it comes over here, and it comes over there, and finish it up over here, let's say. And you'll see that I've got my polygon, and there's my buffer. So I found 3 of those things with a, what was that, half-mile? No, 3-mile buffer around that polygon that I drew. So I'm able to etch over just about anything if you haven't actually imported the data that you want to be able to, in a sense, trace over. So all those things, same process. Click on features. Is it available as a KML? Nope, it's not available as a KML, and it is going to be wastewater treatment plants for assignment for observation. Send it off. It's that simple. Don't need to repeat it any more times. While we're going to get set up to take a look at this stuff, let me ask you, any questions at this point?
Jim, we've been using just point features. Is there an ability to select with the polygon method line or other polygons that might be of interest from another data set?
Yes, I've experimented with that, and a lot of this is experimentation, and you need to do the same. And I'm not spotting any here. But yes, remember those transportation things that we did in the last exercise where somebody, it may have been Cal OES, put out routes that were closed, or some had turned yellow or some had turned red. I've drawn polygons around there, and I can pull, if a line segment, a point on a line segment intersects with the polygon, then that entire line segment comes out, and all the line segments that are inside of the polygon. So that's again one, and I can't emphasize enough, this is all about the data. So that's one that if you've got lines or polygons that you want to bring out, you got to sit there and practice with them and figure out how the heck they were put in there and how the heck you're going to bring them out. Because, yes.
We're looking for case history. So if you have a data set, if you have something like that you want to work with, let us know, and we can build one of the weekly training sessions around it.
Yep, exactly right. So let's see. Let me just take a quick look at this and see. Yep. All right. Just wanted to make sure that this was one in Google Earth that we should be able to use. By clicking on that, it's going off and looking at the core and all those same incidents that we've looked at in the past, and I'm looking for that bad disturbance. There we go. So my bad disturbance, I've got a map view context document there. If I click on that, these are all the things that we've been doing. We've got a Clearinghouse Training, hazardous WAS near disturbance, Clearinghouse XchangeCore, dams down here. There's dams for the bad disturbance incident. There's the hazardous waste sites that we just did. There are my waste treatment plants for disturbance or for assignment for observation. Now, we're here, and what we're looking at is Google Earth. So what do you think is going to happen if Google Earth gets this data? It's going to go back and it's going to say, I don't know how to deal with this, but what I'm going to do is let you go off and figure it out. Takes you right back to the REST services directory, and if you have permissions at this point, you can go off and extract that data for something. So even when the end application can't view anything, what we're able to do is at least get you to the right location and be able to provide information back to you on, where do I want to go there? Oh, Google Earth, that's where I was. So go back to Google Earth, bring up that map view context again, and those are all the pieces that we had there. Google Earth does sometimes a decent job of showing this KMZ, or maybe it just goes and yells at us. Nope, it did the same thing there on the KMZ. Sometimes Google Earth will pick up on that link and display it, and sometimes it doesn't. If I came in here, copied that, and brought it in and toss it off to a browser someplace, let's pick this one and just toss it out there like that and do that, we're going to find that that will either download or appear in Google Earth. And again, it's a little hit or miss. You got to practice. What we at XchangeCore do is deliver the data. Your external applications are the ones that are going to be most concerned about what it is that you're trying to do. So let me come here.
And these are just a few of the applications that we're going to be demonstrating. Well, rather, I should say, XchangeCore works with many different applications. For the exercise, for simplicity, we've chosen a few that are popular and widely used. So that's why we're focusing on those in the training. But if you have other applications that you want to connect, let us know. We can work with that too.
Is wrap this up by showing you that these things are also readable inside of ArcGIS Online. Come back here to my bad disturbance, come into my content, and here the XchangeCore connector is now reading the map context for that bad disturbance incident, and there are all the things that you saw before. We enter the hazardous waste near the disturbance and wastewater treatment plants for assignment for observation. All the things that we did. This is just showing you that it comes back into ArcGIS Online. And next week, since we've just run out of time, we're going to be looking at how you then submit these and make them part of my content, so you, inside of another ArcGIS Online, can begin using the information that this ArcGIS Online did. And for next week, what I like, if somebody can play along with me on this and make either available to me or play with me your ArcGIS Online organization project. And then we'll put two of them next to each other, and we can move the data back and forth between two ArcGIS Onlines. And you'll be able to see an ArcGIS Online that is not in conversation with this one will end up with these same 3 points there. So that brings us to the end of this quick half-hour session. And if somebody would volunteer to participate next week with me, we can run through this and show people how to move things from ArcGIS Online to ArcGIS Online, effectively extracting the key pieces out of a huge layer into little tiny snapshots that people can make use of. Back to you, Ann.